everybody. Bit of a weird angle here, I know. I thought I would film in a different direction today. Instead of filming from the bed, I would film this way. Part of the reason is just because I felt like standing up. Part of the reason is because I have noticed, rewatching some of my videos, is I tend to stare off to the side. And the reason for that is that the screen that is right here. So I'm making eye contact with myself when I should be looking directly at the camera. I don't know, maybe if I put some googly eyes on the microphone? What do you think? Okay, so this is for my fellow horror movie fans. Now, brief overview for those who don't know, I do love horror movies, though I grew up more on the classics, more Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, Vincent Price, but that doesn't mean I haven't seen more modern horror day movies, you know, the Nightmare on Elm Street series, the original, not the remake, Friday the 13th, love me some Evil Dead. I've seen the first two Halloween movies because the library only has the first two Halloween movies. I haven't seen the rest. I really want to see Season of the Witch, even though I know Michael Myers isn't in it. But I do tend to stray more towards the classics. That's where my love lies, is more towards movies from the 30s through the 70s. So, that being said, this is a question I've been wanting to ask. If you know of Drum Dums and his channel, he has a Facebook group called Killer Flicks, and I thought about asking the question in there. But I was kind of worried that some people might be a little squicked out by it, even though we're all horror movie fans there, simply because I'm going to be talking about real life things. And I know people can be sensitive when it comes to where our food comes from, especially when it comes to meat. Mostly because, I'm very sorry to say, you're all misinformed about butchering and slaughtering of animals. You really are. Especially by those dirty, rotten liars known as PETA. Alright? I just really had to say that. There is no torture in this. Yes, the poultry and pork need reform, but especially when it comes to cows, when it comes to the beef industry, there is no actual torture, despite what dirty, rotten liars will tell you. And the knowledge that I now have of this has made me rethink the entire Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. I've actually only seen the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I just really never had any interest in the sequels. I guess mostly because it's not that scary to me, and I like to be scared. But I enjoyed it. I just wasn't scared by it. So here's what I learned, is despite what you were told by people who have never stepped on a farm in their entire life, there is no torture when it comes to turning Bessie into steaks. First of all, why would you take your own personal safety in hand, taking a 2,000 plus pound animal and making it enraged and torturing it? A cow can easily kill you, right? Oh, and by the way, here's a fun fact. Not all bovines are cows. Cows are females who've had at least 1 to 2 calves. Heifers are females that have never had a calf. And then there's bulls, which are an intact male, a steer, which is a male that has been castrated, and an ox, which is a steer that has been trained to do work, like pull a plow or a cart or what have you. So they're actually all bovines, they're not all cows. Sorry for going off topic a bit there, but anyway. So you want to actually keep the animal as calm as possible for your own safety, right? But there's another reason for it, and that's because an animal that is in pain and in fear releases a hormone in their body that makes their meat pretty much inedible for human beings. It makes their meat tough and tasteless, and a human being just cannot consume it. Now, a wild animal like a bear or a wolf or what have you can do it. Bears are known actually to eat their prey while it's still alive and kicking, for instance, but a human being cannot. So, What they do is they take them very calm and quietly into a room, and they put a bolt through their head, like a bolt of electricity or an actual bolt, right between the eyes, boom, and they're brain dead instantly, you know. And then, while they're brain dead, that's when their throat is cut and they're bled out. They don't feel a thing. It's just instant brain death, no torture, you know. And that's why it made me rethink the entire Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because that same hormone that animals release while they're in pain and frightened and everything, every single one of Leatherface's victims is releasing, and that means those human beings are no longer edible. They're no longer edible. They are completely useless as food. That entire family went about it all wrong. For the father having worked in a slaughterhouse, you would think he would know this, right? No, they do their best to frighten and torture and torment, and then they end up with completely useless meat. There's no way that they could get anything out of that. Maybe a few nutrients, but could they even chew it? They would have to puree it. They would have to put it in a Cuisinart and puree the whole thing and turn it into human flesh baby food. It would have to be complete mush, right? And lots of seasonings to give it some flavor. Hannibal Lecter it does it the right way. Hannibal Lecter, he keeps his prey calm, collected, does it quickly, you know. I know it's just a movie, Jamie. And yes, for those of you who know, oh, well, actually it's based on a true story. It's not really. Yes, Ed Gein was a real person. My understanding from what I read about him is he might have killed a few people, but he was actually more of a grave robber than anything. But yes, he was the inspiration behind Leatherface, Buffalo Bill from The Silence of the Lambs, and of course Norman Bates from Psycho. But, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre really isn't based on a true story. You know? And yes, it is just a movie, and they're going for the gore factor and getting people so, you know, but I'll just be, from now on, anytime I have to watch it with friends, I'll just be sitting there thinking, yeah, you're not going to be able to eat her at all. You've now made her flesh completely useless for consumption. You should have just knocked her out cold, induced brain death, and made it quick and painless. Just like they do with cows. Because she's inedible now. So, what about you guys? Have you ever learned something that made you just rethink an entire horror movie premise? Where it just like, well, I still enjoy the movie, but yeah, no, this wouldn't actually work in real life. Yeah. And I'm not just talking about the fact that the Warrens are frauds. And they are. And I'm saying that as somebody who actually believes in the paranormal and ghosts and everything. But the Warrens, no. Everything was faked by them. Alright! Bye-bye.